Well, what is going on YouTube? Welcome back to Therapeutic Edge. Thank you so much for joining me. I have something from Harnds on the table. Now, I've had a bunch of Harnds knives. They are a more budget-friendly option. You can pick them up on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in such a thing. They make knives, well, they do them very well, and they do them in a way that I really enjoy. This one is no exception. This is the Harvest. It is a very sort of straightforward design with a few aesthetic choices that are interesting. It's got some milling on the G10 scales. The blade steel on these is 14C28N, and my experience with Harnds and that metal is that they do a very good job. This one came very sharp out of the box, and it's cut everything that I've asked it to. It does have a little bit of a choil up here, but we'll get to that. The Harvest is not their most interesting design, but as a straightforward pocket knife, it is really very good. It's a liner lock. It has G10 scales with steel liners built into it. It has got a full G10, well, excuse me, a G10 backspacer with jimping and a really generous spot for a lanyard if you're into that sort of thing. The liner on this side has got a little bit of jimping on it, so you can get your thumb on it, and it's got a really big spot, so you can get to it kind of all up and down this stretch, which is really thoughtfully designed. I really like that. The handle itself, with the exception of this choil, is very neutral, so it is very comfortable, kind of no matter what size hand you have. The blade itself is not particularly tall, but it does come down to a very nice edge. It's got a little bit of a flat right here. Other than that, it's got a high flat grind all the way up to the top. Got a little bit of reverse tanto going on. A little bit, right? Nice belly. These do run on bearings. It's got the Harnds pivot with that great logo right embossed on it. Right? This is actually milled out. It is T6s and these are all T8s. All the way around. Sorry about that. Yeah. All the screws are T8. Now the liner on the show side is not milled, so it's not the lightest knife in the world, but it's not too bad either. It has a stamped steel clip that is deep carry, although those are not flush-mounted screws, so unless you've got really thin jeans, you're going to run out of clip right about here. Yeah. Now these are about $41 and some change, so we'll call it 42 bucks. You know, in a world of Sativians, that's kind of expensive, but Harnds is actually built, for me at least, a bit of a positive reputation. So $40 is not outrageous. It's not the cheapest you can find either, but you get quite a bit of knife here for your 40 bucks. I mentioned it has a little bit of a trail. So the plunge is here, and then it's got this big flat spot right here. You can get your finger up onto that really comfortably, but you're going to want to be careful because there's no lip. So you're up against the edge. So be cautious. Other than that, it does work if you want to get your hand forward. The shape of the blade lends itself really effectively to coming forward like this for draw style cuts. Has more than enough tip on it if you needed to dissuade someone or push into your medium, whatever you're cutting, and then cut this way or this way. It'll work beautifully for that as well. The action on this example is very good. That is one thing Harnds does sort of across the brand. Detent on this guy is, probably a 4 or a 5. It's a little softer than I'd like, but can I fail it? No, you can't fail it, so I'll call it a 5. Overall fit and finish on this example is very good. No obvious flaws, which is very nice for your $41 and change, 42 bucks, whatever it is. It's a nice knife. It really is. It's not the most attractive thing in the world, at least to me. Part of it is they did this weird milling, swoopy milling stuff where they just cut grooves into the G10. Excuse me. I know that's a stylized bit. They could have done without it. Doesn't add anything to the knife, and honestly, it makes it look a little cheap. Now, these come in a bunch of colors. You can get these in yellow or brown. There's black. I think there's even green. It is, as you can see, a plain edge and a satin finish. It's a straight flipper. There are no thumb studs or other methods of deployment. And that's okay. It's got a really nice small flipper, right, down here. And you can light switch it, which is pulling straight back, and it works just fine. Or you can just push button it, and it pops open as well. I really will say that the action on all of the Harnds knives that I've had has been very good, and this one in particular is very well done. And it opens with authority. Like, you can feel it in your palm when it snaps open, you know? It's got a little bit of jimping right where your thumb would land, and because of the size of the knife, my thumb does in fact land right where the jimping is. It's amazing how many knife companies will put jimping on a blade, and I have no idea whose hand it is supposed to be for, but it certainly isn't mine. The Harnds Harvest here does not have that problem. In fact, the knife itself, from end to end and overall, is very comfortable to use and to hold. It pockets very well too, with the exception of, as I said, being a little tight up here at the top of the clip because of those screws. I really like stuff like this. I've said this before in a recent video. I mean, I can share all of the 246, 810, you know, 246, $800,000 knives that I want, but the fact that you can still, for 40 bucks, go out, okay, 42 bucks, go out and get yourself this much knife in a really good steel makes me super happy, because that's most of us. That's even me. You know, look, I'm not going to carry my $500 knife when I'm going, you know, fishing. I want something that is rust and stain resistant, which 14C is. I want something that is going to hold up under harder use. I'm not going to hammer this thing through a brick or anything, and these knives have proven themselves repeatedly to be just that kind of a knife. Let's take a look at the specs. You get 3 1/4 inches of cutting on 3 1/2 inches of 14C28N. The grip area from behind the flipper will come all the way to the end of the flipper. Because of this way designed, you can come all the way up. Is 4 inches to the line, and actually a little bit longer than that, but you get 4 inches of grip. The knife overall, from tip to tail, is 8 1/4. So this is a reasonably full-size knife. It has a lovely closed profile, though. If we make room for that flipper, and you must, we're looking at 1 1/4 inches, so it is a lean knife. We're coming in at, just at a 1/2 inch widthwise. So it does ride the pocket very well, and again, it is a very comfortable knife to hold. I like this thing. I really do. And the action is fun. Smooth. All right, drops shut. They managed to put the detent high enough on the knife so that as soon as you're past it, it'll just rock shut, right? There's no double clutch, as Metal Complex would say. It's a good phrase. This is really nice. Let's do some size comparisons. First, let's compare it against a ZT. This is the 0562 in full tie. These knives, if we line them up, very similar in length. The Harvest here is actually just a little bit longer, but of course you get a little more cutting on the 0562. Here it is against the Gen 2 Hogue Deca. I haven't done it yet, but there's a full review of this coming. Now, I reviewed the original Deca, so I've been sort of wrestling with how to review the update. Suffice to say that if you like the original, you're going to like the update, only it's a little bit improved. But as you can see, the Harvest is considerably larger than the Deca, which means it's going to be larger than our bug-out stand-in, which in this case is the Presidio 2, the Mini. Yeah, the Harnds is a nicely sized knife. And our standard full-size knife comparison is the Presidio 2 full-size. And as you can see, the Harnds is smaller in almost every dimension, right? And yet, it's still a really good handful. I don't know. I think this is a great knife. I think you'll like it too. As I said, I'll post a link in the description. You can check it out yourself on Amazon. Let's weigh this one. I'm curious. Because they didn't mill out the liners at all, and because it doesn't feel that heavy, but let's find out together. 4 ounces dead even. Okay. So 4 ounces is a little bit beyond that ounce per inch that the really hardcore EDC guys like, but the way this thing rides the pocket and with how comfortable it is to carry and use, that's not heavy. Yeah, 4 ounces even. That's a really nicely sized knife. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. This is the Harnds Harvest, a budget-friendly knife you can find on Amazon from a company that has shown itself to be reliable over time. I hope you've enjoyed this look at the Harnds Harvest. I know I've enjoyed sharing it with you. If you have any questions about this or any of my knives, feel free to ask down in the comments below. We'll see you next time.